Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Okay, one more time. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Chattanooga. I am the Reverend Mandy Goheen. My pronouns are she, her. You are so welcome here today. Welcome to go on a journey of discovery with us. Welcome if you're online or in person. Welcome to be curious and ask questions. Our opening words are my sermon blurb because it rarely gets read by even me, so I thought I would use it to remind me and you what we're talking about today. Sometimes things just click into place. Challenging things happen and turn out for the best, or amazing things happen unexpectedly. Sometimes sad things bring invaluable meaning to our lives. If luck and things happen for a reason are not an option, how do we explain it? How do we answer the question posed when we let go of the notion of a divine playbook? It's serendipity, my dear Watson. We will follow the clues to what seems to make things click and happen in our lives. The game is afoot. Please join me in our chalice lighting. And Judy, if you come forward, she's our board rep today. Oh, here she comes. She was greeting folks. Join me both here and online with the words that we light our chalice with, which marks the beginning of our time together. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. All right, so this is a round. As you come up, these folks are helping us with a round. You want to tell me about what's going to happen, Jennifer? And you want to tell us about the song a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool, because I don't know what's happening.
Great. So our opening song this morning is song number 1003. It's in your teal hymnal, and it's a round. So Christian and Rich and Jonathan are going to come forward. So Rich, when you chose your seat today, you also chose your round buddies. Isn't that exciting? So Rich is going to be with the group that's farthest away from me in the section of chairs over there. Christian's going to be with this middle section. And then me and Jonathan and Kaden are bringing up part 3.
What about me? What about me?
Rev Mandy's going to sing with part 3 too, okay?
And you all are welcome to rise in body and or spirit, both here and at home. This is a song inspired by a painting.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's in your order of service if you want to read more about this song. There's a little insert with all kinds of fun stuff.
So we're going to sing it once all the way through all together so we can learn it. And then we're going to do it twice through as a round. So 3 times through total, once all together, and twice as a round. So please rise in body or spirit as we sing hymn 1003, Where Do We Come From?
Where
a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going?
Woo! Please be seated. Well, that was a mystery how that worked out, but it was great. That was so cool. Thank you all for your participation. I didn't even know I was doing that. So it's time for our story for all ages, and this is an interesting one. So this really weird thing comes out of my mouth all the time. I love this job because I go on these journeys of discovery that bring me back home, bring me back to belonging. And when I was looking for a word, the word I finally found was serendipity, to explain some things that some might say happen for a reason. And so when I dug into that word, I found where it originated. It's the three princes of Serendip. And Serendip is modern-day Sri Lanka, just to give you some perspective about where this is. And this is the story of the one-eyed camel specifically. And this was translated into Italian. It's a very interesting origin of words, but the other thing that it's the origin of possibly is the detective story, which is also a little bit serendipitous. Once upon a time, in the land of Serendip, there ruled a wise and powerful king, Gaffer. He had 3 sons whom he loved very much, and he wanted to leave them not only the kingdom, but all the knowledge and virtue that rulers of great kingdoms should have. So he gathered great scholars from all over the realm, with each different specialty, and set them as tutors to his sons. The king bade each tutor to instruct the princes so well that any expert who encountered them would immediately recognize who their teacher was. And so the tutors did. Tutors are like teachers, right? Because the princes were highly intelligent, it took hardly any time for them to become experts in science, language, and philosophy, and all the other subjects they studied, and soon they were far more knowledgeable than any other young prince or noble of the same age and rank. The tutors returned to the king to report how much progress they made, and the king was a bit skeptical that the princes could have gained so much knowledge so quickly, so he decided, as kings do in fairy tales, to test them. Sending for his oldest son, he said, "My son, you know how long I have ruled this kingdom and how I've strived to take care of my subjects and rule them with love and mercy as well as justice. But I'm getting tired and old, and I feel like it's time for me to focus on my journey to the next world. So I've decided to retire and spend the rest of my days meditating and praying for my sins. You're my oldest son, and so I leave you the kingdom. I ask that you rule with equal justice for all, governing with love and charity, especially the poor and the aged and the sick, and that you punish the guilty and the wicked according to the laws in the land of God." The oldest son bowed before him. "Sire, while I understand your wishes, I know that you're still quite able to rule this kingdom well, and with God's grace, I pray that you will be able to do so for a very long time. So while I'm willing to obey you in anything, I feel as long as you're alive and well, it would not be appropriate for me to take the crown. And eventually the Lord takes you to heaven. Of course, I'll take care of the kingdom. I'll try to rule as wisely and justly as you." The king was pleased with his son's answer, which showed both wisdom and humility, but he hid his feelings and dismissed his son and called his second son. His second son, and he went through the same shtick. Where he offered him the kingdom, the second son said, "Okay, it's really your job or my older brother's job," and it went down through the line. The king is pleased with all of his kids responding to him this way. However, he's tricky, remember? And so you'd think he would just say, "What a great job," but no, instead he calls his sons pretending to be angry at all 3 of them, and tells them they're disobedient and tells them to leave the kingdom. That's kind of yucky. Of course, the princes were shocked and hurt, but they loved their father, and he was the king, so they gathered some things, and they traveled on until they reached another kingdom by another great emperor. They journeyed down the road towards the imperial capital. They met a camel driver whose camel had run away. The camel driver asked the princes if they'd seen his camel on the road. They hadn't, but they'd seen some camel tracks, and they were feeling mischievous. That means a little tricky. So they decided to pretend that they had seen the camel. To make it convincing, the first son said, "Was your camel the blind one with one eye?" Why, yes, the camel driver said. "And was it missing a tooth?" asked the other son. Yeah. "And was it lame as well?" said the third son. "Yes, he has a hurt foot," said the man. "Oh, then we've definitely seen your camel," said the brothers. "We passed it on the road quite a while ago." Overjoyed, the man thanked the men and ran off in the direction where the brothers had told them they had seen the camel. But of course he couldn't find the camel. Trudging back the next day, he ran into the brothers again, resting by a spring of fresh water. The man said, "You lied to me. I backtracked over 20 miles and I never found my camel." "You heard the information we gave you," said the first brother. "Judge for yourself if we were lying. And let me add, your camel had a load of butter on one side and a load of honey on the other." And the other brother said, "It also carries a woman on its back who is pregnant." It's all true. This convinced the camel driver that the only way that the brothers could have known so much about the missing camel was to have stolen it, and he got them arrested and thrown in jail. The next day, his friend came wandering up with his missing camel, and luckily for them, they were released. But the emperor was really curious about how they tricked people so much to get in trouble. And he called the three brothers forward and he asked them a question. How did you trick the camel driver? The first brother said, "I noticed the grass had only been eaten on one side of the road, even though the grass on the other side was better quality. So I concluded the camel couldn't see in one eye, facing the side of the road where the grass was good." The second brother said, "I noticed the cuds of chewed grass were so large they must have come from a space the size of a missing tooth, like a hunk of grass fell out of a camel's mouth." The third brother said, "And I knew the camel must be hurt because I observed the tracks of only 3 camel feet along the trace and 1 dragged foot." The emperor was astonished and impressed, and he wanted to know more. "How did you know the other details of the camel?" The first brother said, "I guess the camel must be carrying butter on one side and honey on the other, because on one side of the road I noticed a trail of ants who love fat, and on the other side I noticed a great number of flies who love honey." The second brother said, "I guess the camel was carrying a woman because at one point I saw a mark indicating the camel had knelt down and saw a small human footprint that was either a woman or a child, and then someone had used the bathroom nearby, and I had a stirring in me, so I knew it was a woman." I was sure of it. The third brother said, "I guess that the woman must be pregnant because I saw a handprint indicating the woman had helped herself up after using the bathroom." The emperor was so impressed with the brothers' cleverness and observation skill that he begged them to stay as his guests. He provided them with the best rooms in the palace, and every day he would entertain himself with them, discussing various and different topics and enjoying intelligent conversation. So, I don't love the princes in this. They're tricky, and they're using their observation and what they see to trick people, and we need to do that a little differently. We need to use our observation of people and places and things to help folks. We can be detectives in ways that bring joy and connection to the world, and that's the way I'd like to approach the idea of sending the young detectives. All youth ages, any age under high school, are welcome to go downstairs for religious education, and hopefully they will learn all the clues that they need to develop a great sense of Unitarian Universalism. So let's sing them out. Go. Oh, you started. I got it. We're doing a little, oh, I can hear myself now too. All right. That was a long story. If you couldn't hear me, I apologize for that. No, you're good. Thank you. I shouldn't have done, okay. I'm sorry about that. This is the part in the service where we kind of readjust anyway, right? This is time for us to enter into a time of reflection and meditation. I invite folks to set things aside for a moment. Open our minds to the questions that we brought with us today. The things we wonder. We wonder where we came from. How we'll get where we're going. But we don't need to wonder about a place of belonging and a place of comfort and a place of rest. So we're going to take a moment of silence into that comfort and rest of this beautiful community. As you bring your awareness back, I invite you during the music to come forward and put a stone of joy or concern or question into the water of this community. Now, I know it's not a candle. There are candles at the back if you really feel like you need to light a candle as well to mark a time or special space. You can do that after the service. We're just experimenting a little bit. So next week, the candles will be back. But I invite you now to come forward and share those joys and concerns and questions with the community. And Judy, can you please put some rocks in for joys and concerns that we're holding in our heart and for the folks online? like the way that sounds. So, to say I went on the trail this week to understand serendipity would be an understatement. I had a discussion with Steve Hollingsworth, as I do sometimes, trying to figure out a word. And this was a long time ago, and then I forgot the word, and I tried to get a time to call them and figure out what was going on, and I just racked my brain, and finally the word came to me, serendipity. It's not that things are happening for a reason, it's that we're observing the things and we're putting the pieces together in our lives to make meaning. It's not that there's a grand design necessarily. Last week during our service, we were talking about sanctuary, and we were carrying around umbrellas and being silly, and singing in the rain was an addition I did at the last minute. And when I added that, I didn't realize that at the end of the video of Singing in the Rain, Gene Kelly hands his umbrella to someone else, which is exactly what had happened in the story for all ages. I can say, so I was telling my mom that story, and she said, well, God winked at you. And I was like, are you okay? Tell me more, Mom. What does that mean to you? And we had a discussion, and it came to the point where I said, well, I can't really buy into the plan thing, but I do believe that there is some kind of amazing creative force in the world that nudges us in a direction of good. And that's called process theology. You know, people call that God. People call that thing a lot of things. It's the space in between when we're in a conversation with someone and it's really meaningful and we're learning along the way. We feel like we belong somewhere. That's more what I believe than God winked at me because I checked the book off and did the thing. You know, I don't buy that. But I did remember something interesting, which is somehow it got me thinking about when I became a Unitarian Universalist. Not when I started going to Unitarian Universalist Church, but when I clicked. When that click happened and I thought, oh, I must be here for a reason, that day, I walked into the church in Bethesda, Maryland, Manassas, Virginia. See, I was close. And I walked into the church, and the minister was talking about restorative justice. And I had never in my life heard a minister talk about anything other than the gospel and what was in the book for the Catholic Church. I didn't know that people were allowed to just talk about what they wanted to. I probably would have been up here a lot longer ago if I figured that out. But I was so entranced, and it was a subject that I was deeply interested in. See, my undergraduate is in forensic investigation and family studies. It's kind of strange, but it's not when you think about what a strange little kid I was. I loved Masterpiece Theater. I was a lonely kid with a black and white TV in the middle of the country. And I practiced my British accent along with Sherlock Holmes. And I've had a hat like this longer than I care to admit. So Sherlock Holmes, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, I started reading from that curiosity, and I was just mesmerized with Sherlock Holmes, perhaps noticing about me today that there's white paint on my fingernails because I've been priming a room, or my button is missing from my shirt, and what that might mean, like, oh, her dog jumped on her, and putting all that together and solving a mystery just fed me, and I loved it. And so when I went into forensic investigation, I really loved pattern evidence. And I know this is going to sound, it won't be boring, I promise. Your fingerprints, your shoe prints, blood spatter, not splatter. I just have to correct anyone who says it wrong. But the pattern of things and the way it fits together and tells the story is what I was really interested in. And that's so close to art, isn't it? the way things fit together, that's so close to creativity and creating together with that like loving nudge towards good in the universe. And so I love fingerprints, and it wasn't that I was identifying the lines because I had gone to art school or maybe had art parents, or I used to look at the white in between and the shapes that it made, and that made me really good at it, to see it in the reverse. I love word searches still. I do a word search every night in bed to go to sleep. I love that finding and looking in between the spaces to discover the story. Systems are like that too. So I also was studying family systems, and family systems are how people work together and influence each other to create the story. So to say that I'm good at taking pieces that seem far away from each other and bringing them together and making meaning is probably an understatement. Yesterday, however, my dear spouse, who isn't here today, wasn't a fan of this, because things were happening that weren't so great yesterday, and I was trying to lean into the creativity, to the serendipity. Things are happening for a reason. This is what's going on. So, first of all, I woke up late. Second of all, I was coming here, and people were probably working on the yard, and I was looking forward to seeing people. I didn't quite feel great yet, but I was looking forward to being here. We have masks. I don't have COVID. I've tested 90 times. Curiosity once again. So I was really looking forward to it, and I went to get in the car, and my car wouldn't start. And I was like, oh, Andre, isn't this funny? We're going to lean into serendipity. I certainly wasn't meant to go to church for some reason. And he said, I don't think it's that funny. I think it's a little annoying. And quit being so happy that the car won't start, please. So then we move on to the fact that I somehow have managed to confuse Google so much that I am locked out for 48 hours. And then I was on his side and found the world quite annoying. Being curious about things when they go a weird way is cool, but also don't get on people's nerves being happy about it. That's one piece of advice. But leaning into the curiosity of what's going on. So finally, against all odds, I kept trying yesterday. I wanted to go put some primer on my doors at my new house. My front door and back door are black. Yuck. Anyway, if your doors are black, I'm sure they're beautiful, but that's not me. They're going to be turquoise. I know you're shocked. But I'm painting my doors, and I'm just really enjoying this really great music, and I've totally let go of all that frustration. I mean, I had to ride in the back seat with a 17-year-old driving to my new house with desks on my lap, and I still let go of the frustration and leaned into listening to good music and painting and just getting out of it for a minute. One of the things that bothers me about when we say things happen for a reason, it creates an attachment to those things. We can overly identify with that thing that we think happened for a reason. But if we're instead curious about it and we ask questions, it helps us answer the meaning of life in ways we can live with. Do I think that things fall into place sometimes for me in ways I can't explain? Yes. And as a matter of fact, that minister who made me a Unitarian Universalist, I sat with her in a coffee shop when I was fighting the call for ministry several years later, and I kept hanging the phone up. Oh, no, I don't want to be a minister. But I was sitting there, and I was like, boy, I'm having a hard time buying into things don't happen for a reason. When I look back at my life, and I look at the way things fall into place, when I look at being here in this place, specifically our church, it's really easy for me to buy into things happen for a reason. It really is, but I reject that because of that knowledge piece that we heard about in the story. But we have to be careful. We can't be overly intelligent and insulting like I was to Andre. Like, well, look at the clue. It's fine. Don't be annoyed. And we have to be careful, too, because some of this hypervigilance I have has to do with trauma. And some people who are hypervigilant, it's not because they love Sherlock Holmes as much as I do. It's because they've had to watch their environment and adjust to it so that they're safe. That's another part of this, right? We look at the clues of our context and we adjust so that we're safe. And when we figure out where we can be authentic, then, my friends, we know where we belong. And it is my great hope that we can be authentic in this community in a caring way that deepens us in belonging, not for a beloved community for someday, but today, right in this moment, and beyond, that grows and is infectious. Feeling secure and belonging in this space can spread. Bring other people here to feel that too. This is a place of authenticity and love. We are open to the idea that God makes things happen for a reason if that is your personal belief system and journey you've gone on. And we are also open to, I don't know what the heck's going on. I'm seeking spirituality. I'm seeking a place of belonging and sinking in to being in a community where I belong and I connect and I can have a little fun and be creative together, because that is my deep belief. Whatever that is, it's nudging us towards good. And if we just keep riding that wave, that nudge towards good, that love is going to carry us through. And it's going to give us more and more places where we're not fitting in and more places where we're belonging. And that's a good thing, don't you think? So, one more piece of serendipity. I didn't know, we didn't even know who Share the Plate was going to be, or Donate the Plate was going to be today. We were kind of running behind on scheduling. A lot's been going on. And Charlotte Olson is the chair of Wowzers, which is working on worship. And she reached out and she's like, hey, what are we going to do? I'm like, I don't know, just pick one. Just pick one. And then I was like, well, how about the Heart Gallery? And I couldn't have, there's another little piece of synchronicity. I didn't do this on purpose because it fits so well with understanding creative juices in the universe leading us to good places. But I can't think of a better place for that, because this is a space where people get to be creative together who don't have a safe context always to be in. And so I hate for it to roll right into this Heart Gallery presentation, but I think it's important to pay attention. And I think it's important to understand that sometimes I'm paying attention to how things go together, and sometimes I really mess it up too, and that's okay. Sometimes the knowledge, the information presented to me doesn't quite sink in. And one of the greatest examples of this is my cousin came to me and said, did you know that Amish people can drive cars, but they have to be black? And I was like, you are kidding me. They're making black people drive them around? We have to keep everything in context. We have to see the big picture. We have to use the clues. We can't become so righteous in our intelligence and knowledge that we say things like that. And, so like what I'm saying, when I miss it, I really miss it. And I need all of you to help me catch it sometimes. And you do, and I love that too. So this is when I'd like to invite our other speaker up to talk about the Heart Gallery and her journey there and what's going on. And they have a painting of a chicken that I want, I promise. So come on up. Please introduce yourself and welcome to our community.
Thank you so much. Let's see, I'm a hand talker, so I'm going to try to put my hands maybe in my pockets. Good morning, and thank you so much for giving me a couple minutes. I'm Courtney Chandler. I am the director of Heart Gallery. If you're not familiar with our program, we are a nonprofit art gallery and studio space. We're located down in the South Side community, right on the corner of Rossville Avenue and Main Street. We've been there for almost 12 years. I am thrilled to get to come out into the community and brag about our program, brag about our artists. As I mentioned, we're an art gallery, but we are also a studio space and a safe space for a lot of individuals here in our community. We work with an artist collective of individuals here who might be what you consider living on the fringe. Our artists are unsheltered. They're homeless here in the community. Our artists have disabilities, both intellectual and physical. We serve artists who are in recovery from drugs and alcohol, from those who are living with mental health diagnosis. We serve a low-income senior population. We serve anyone who is in need of art as a healing tool. They are welcome to come through our doors and explore the gallery itself. And during our studio hours, sit at our tables, use our supplies. They don't have to have the end goal of being able to have artwork hanging on the walls. Sometimes it's just nice to sit around the table and be a part of a group of people who understand that sometimes life is hard and we all have our own background stories. But when we're sitting together at a table, either sharing supplies or sharing a meal, we're all equal. We open our gallery space up as a studio for these artists to come in a couple times a week. They can use our supplies. We provide meals during that time, as well as help connect them to resources in the community that they might need, such as housing or medication management. Simple kind of what I call soft case management services. There are only 3 of us as our staff, myself, and I have 2 art therapists who are the best part of my team. They provide classes in the community for other social service agencies, but we also provide classes for our artists who are interested in furthering their art career by providing mentorship, providing skill training, and then, like I said, providing classes for them to build into their art career or art portfolio. Our artists can then, after they've been with us for a while and create their portfolio, then sell their work. They're very generous and allow us to showcase their work, take it out into the community, and then sell it on their behalf. If you're not familiar with how an art gallery works, most of the time the art gallery gets most of the money. In our case, our artists receive most of the money. Each artist from a sale receives 60% of that sale. 30% of the sale comes to the gallery, but we use that money only to buy supplies and the meals that happen during studio hours. That last 10% of the sale is donated to a charity of the artist's choice in order for us to kind of pay it forward and continue that cycle of giving. So on a quarterly basis, we write checks on their behalf to various locations, usually charities that are near and dear, the Chattanooga Library, the food bank, the rescue mission, anything that's important to them, so that they also have the opportunity to be giving towards something that's important to them. So we are currently at 80 active artists in the community, but that number continues to grow each day. Folks don't have to have an artistic background to join our program. They can just walk through our doors and say, I'd like to kind of explore the space, and we welcome them. We welcome anyone from the community to come and sit down at our table, whether they're have a background story they need to share, if they just want to be there and be a volunteer. So we're always looking for folks. If you're interested in coming to see us, we'd love to have you walk through our doors. We're there Wednesday through Sunday. We'll be there later this afternoon in order to sell our artists' work. And then we also pop up all over the community at various events. So we're always looking for volunteers and folks. You don't have to be artistic. I tell our folks that right off the bat. We'll help you be artistic. It's really important. One of the things I was chatting with my staff about the other day is how much we lose that creativity as we get older. I did an event about a month ago in Miller Park, the Splash Children's Festival, and the kids that came to my table to do our event were already creating before I could even give instructions. But when I asked adults would they like to create, the answer was always, nope, you don't want to see my artwork, I don't do that, we're not as spontaneous and creative as we used to be, and I hate that. That's my soapbox. I'm so glad you let me step up 3 stairs to say that. I want you to find your creativity in life, and if we can help, push that forward, or maybe put a pencil in your hand, let us do that for you. But it's so fitting that serendipity is the word you chose today, because that's kind of how I feel my entire career has been. I have a background in both exceptional education and art education, because I was really passionate that those two should go together, and our students in the school system should have the opportunity to create art, and they don't always get that. That's a soapbox for another day. But my career in the nonprofit world has kind of led me to finally ending up here in the Heart Gallery, where I am able to kind of push that creativity forward. And with the help of my team, we get to see some of the best that's there. And I hope you have a chance to come down and see some of us. We'll be happy to sell you the spring chicken. It's a chicken whose body is a spring. Yeah. So one of our artists, he loves punny artwork. So he creates all sorts of things that are punny. And that's the one that she's referring to as the spring chicken. So thank you so much for letting me give you us in a nutshell. So we hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Fascinating. So I want to just remind everyone that the entire offering is going to the Heart Gallery today. If you didn't bring money in your pockets, there are ways to give online and to text to give, which you can find in your order of service. Yes, at the bottom of the first page. I encourage you to give, and I encourage you just also to just think about how this is fostering creativity in the community, and really a safe space to let that go is critical for some people's survival. So please give generously. If it's your first time here, you can let the plate slide by, but I think you might not want to because this is such a great cause. So the offering will be gratefully received. Please join me in our offertory response, our mission. We give these gifts freely, committed to our mission to care, create beloved community, awaken hearts and minds, resist injustice and act with compassion, embrace life and care for the earth. To this work, we dedicate our offerings. And now our closing song is from the Teal Hymnal. Are we doing anything fancy? Nothing fancy. We made it through the first one. It was great. Please rise in body and or spirit and join us in number 1074, Turn the World Around, a little Harry Belafonte. You can dance too. We come from the fire, living in the fire. Go back to the fire, turn the world around. We come from the water, living in the water. Go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living in the mountain. Go back to the mountain, turn the world around. time to extinguish our chalice. Judy, please come forward. And join me in our chalice extinguishing words that can be found in the order of service. We extinguish this flame, but keep the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world. So what? This is where I get to tell you what again. So in our Unitarian Universalist world, we believe that revelation is not sealed, that we don't know all the answers. And just in that understanding, go out and seek it. Find what makes sense to you. Go on a journey of understanding, belonging, and spirituality, and the things that feed you. So what? That's a big so what. If it's this place, that's amazing. If this is just a day on your journey, you're amazing. If you're going to come here over and over again, that's incredible too. We are on this journey together, being nudged by love or God or whatever we label that, to be good folks together. And that's some pretty special serendipity, if you ask me. We have been having a social justice moment every service, and I would like to start that. And then we're going to have 5 timed minutes of announcements.
Okay, or maybe I can just make the social.
You can come up here if you want the thing.
I can make the social justice.
You better get it all. She's going to get it all
Okay.
tied together. All right.
I'm going to tie it all together or try. Okay, here's our social justice moment. Because underneath all of this is the real truth that we have been avoiding. Climate change isn't an issue to add to the list of things to worry about next to health care and taxes. It is a civilization wake-up call, a powerful message spoken in the language of fires, floods, droughts, and extinctions, telling us that we need an entirely new economic model and a new way of sharing the planet, telling us that we need to evolve. And that's by Naomi Klein. So we're going to have a really brief social justice meeting after the service. And next Friday, we're going to see a movie, Don't Look Up. If you haven't seen it, please come. If you have seen it, which I have, it'll be good to see it again. So take care. Thank you.
All right, so now we will start the 5 minutes of announcements. I'm kidding. Does anybody in the community have any announcements? I want you to see on the back of your order of service, there's some dates, and they tell us when things are happening, like there's coffee hour. Does anybody have any announcements about these things on the back to explain? No. So you have an opportunity to stop by the gazebo on Thursday to help build an altar from 4 to 7. Wednesday coffee hour. Selena will be here. And Friday is the social justice movie night potluck. Don't Look Up. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. And if you have seen it, you know it's worth watching again for the very last scene in the very, 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 very end. Yeah. So I want to talk about new membership. We're having a membership 101 little class today at 12:30. I can explain a few things about membership. The next step would be having an individual meeting with me, which we can talk about. And then I'm really excited on October the 9th. We're going to have a new member Sunday, but it's not just for this time around. We're going to welcome some new folks, but we're going to celebrate everybody who's joined since before COVID and through our reopening. So we'll have a reception after. So we're going to have a little party of welcome that we haven't really got to do in a way that I have found celebratory enough for the occasion. So if you have any questions about joining, please ask me. If you're online, I know we need to do a Zoom online of this week too, so I promise. Yeah, everyone's welcome. Even if you live far away, you're welcome to join. Let's see, is there any other announcements, or did I scare you all by saying you only had 5 minutes? Yeah, come on up here, Sally. All right, there we needed a brave person. There's a mic down there, too, if you don't want to run up.
Awesome.
Turn it on. Oh, here. Never mind.
This one works. Thanks. So, we started signing up for something called Dinners in Homes last week. This is a small potluck that you can do to visit each other, get to know each other better. It's a really cool idea. We have some hosts who have offered to do potlucks at their homes. Lovely. And today we are starting sign-ups for that. So after we get out of here, in the back of the lobby, on the table, there will be sign-ups. You can see who is opening their home on what day and time. You can check out whether it's accessible or not, what kind of pets will be there or contained or not, any sort of dietary restrictions, and sign yourself right on up. Say what you're going to bring. This is a one-time deal, just one-off, so it's not a long-term commitment. It's just an awesome chance to share a meal with each other. We are going to have sign-ups back there. If you are online, I'm about to put a link in the YouTube chat so that you can sign up online as well. And we're going to be continuing this next week also. Thank you. Hope to see you at ours.
Oh, yes, I do need that. I forgot I need it. Well, I just want to thank everyone for coming. If you feel comfortable, give a wave out to people online, turn around and say, hey, everyone. Hey, we're so glad you came. Come on down, right? We're so glad you're here today. And just look around this room for a second. Look at this place of belonging and place to be comfortable asking questions. We're so not lucky. We're so serendipitous. Have a wonderful, wonderful week.